It is time for the Carl Banks Report. We'll do it every single Wednesday throughout the football season. And the Carl Banks Report brought to you by Bud Light. I'm sure a few of those were cracked after that win. For the Giants fans on game day, enjoy responsibly. By Foxwoods Resort Casino, the wonder of it all. By Kia and by Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa. Number 58 is in the house. And Carl, for the first time in seemingly forever, the Giants have some hope, man.
Yeah, well, it's one in a row. So that's a good start. That's better than they've been in the last 6 years.
Oh, man. Okay, so I know it was almost a tale of two different games. The first game, a lot of repeats from the last couple of years, not much happening. But then there was a resilience that shone through. And you know, when I said to Tiki, when I saw Daboll lighten up Jones, first of all, I think every Giant fan loved it. I think every old school football fan loved it. And that just reinforces to me, Carl, that if he's that public on game day, I can only imagine the tone set in the building when nobody's there. It just seems like it's a more competitive tone.
Well, there's an expectation. The one thing about Brian Daboll, he is truly a player's coach. He's not an authoritarian, but there are parameters, right? And making good decisions as a quarterback is something that he will harp on until the cows come home, because they're great play callers between he and Brian Kafka. They could really do a good job with this personnel that they have. So I'm sorry, guys, there's something going on here in the stadium. But what happens with this? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no
Tackled
idea.
by number
So anyway,
58, Carl Banks, assisted by number 56, Taylor.
Yeah. So what they do, they're great play callers between he and Kafka. So execution is important. And you can see they have a lot of tricks in their bag, but making good decisions in a tight game, because the defense did a good job of keeping them out of the end zone, making key plays. So when you get down there and get a chance to get back in the game, you can't afford to make that type of mistake. So with Daniel Jones, what I saw versus what the stats said, like, he had a good quarterback rating. He was efficient, right? Yeah. But I saw a quarterback who was a bit robotic on Sunday.
You think he's thinking too much, Carl? You think he's thinking too much?
I do, Tiki. I do. And I think he hasn't stepped into his skill set yet. He's not playing free because he doesn't want to make mistakes. He's been beat from pillar to post this offseason, right? So he just wants to do things right. Yeah. And there was some play. Now, he didn't play bad. He had a bad interception, right? And the numbers say he had a pretty good quarterback rating. He was very efficient. But a guy who is playing free does not take the 5-yard check down when there are guys down the field wide open. And I fully expect that as this season goes on, he'll start to feel more comfortable being Daniel Jones. Right now, he's the Giants quarterback. He's the quarterback who wants to do everything right for the coach, and he's not playing free. And I think as he looks at film, because he's a student of the game, he'll see opportunities and he'll know, hey, let me take an extra tick and get this ball down the field. They have some issues on the interior of their offensive line. So a couple of guys got through. Simmons got through a lot, right? So I'm sure that was playing in his head a little bit, but he's got to get comfortable in knowing that, hey, I can run this offense and I can be free in it. He's not there yet. Yeah. He's robotic, a bit robotic. I'm not saying totally robotic, but he didn't make bad decisions with the football, with the exception of that interception, which could have cost them the game. But I think he'll get into it. But right now he's a little stiff out there, if you ask me.
All right, so we're talking to Carl Banks. Of course, Giants great. Carl's going to be with us every single Wednesday at 11:40 here on the Fan, Tiki and Tierney, and we're getting ready for Carolina. Yeah, Carl's with us right now.
You know, Carl, you talk about that offensive line a little bit. This is really a question about Saquon and Mike Kafka in a sense, because of the play calling, especially in the second half. Yeah, they struggled in the pass protection a little bit, but their run schemes were very advantageous for Saquon. You saw a couple times they were pulling center and guard out around the edges and making it easier for Saquon to have one cut and get more vertical. I talked to Joe Shane before the start of the season. He said, look, a lot of people aren't going to say this, but the strength of this team is going to be the offensive line and Saquon. That showed itself in week 1, did it not?
It certainly did, Tiki. And the thing is, when they were struggling in the first half, you could see the offense had a little success when they were running the ball.
Yeah.
Right. So they came out in the second half and they ran the offense through Saquon Barkley. And this is something that, and I said he looked more decisive running the football, but he was also intentional. And if you can help me kind of understand how those two marry with each other, because he was much more decisive. Like you said, he put his foot in the ground, right? But the intention that he had every time he ran the ball, if it was a dirty 2 yards, he ran that with the intention of getting yardage and not just, okay, here's the play. I'm going to put my foot in the ground. If I get tackled, I get tackled.
Yeah. I think it takes some time, Carl, to figure out what you can ultimately get out of a play. You know, sometimes you're dancing around and you're eyeing, not really dancing, but you're eyeing a hole. And when you're about to go into it, you're like, man, if I cut back just right, I can get 30, right? Or you do that same thing. You're like, dude, I'm not going anywhere. Let me just go get 2 or 3. And if the guy misses a tackle, maybe I'll get 5, right? I think it takes some time to learn that, because we saw this over the last 2 years, right? He would be dancing, just trying to like make a home run happen. And these guys are beating down on him while he's dancing in the hole. So if that's gone, and can Saquon uses his physicality, because he's a big dude, man. If he uses that, good things are going to happen. It takes 1 or 2 yards before you can get 40.
Yeah, and I think you could see that when I say he was intentional. Like even on those 2 yards, his pads were low, and he was challenging defenders, which meant like those guys have got to tackle him on those plays too. And he was exploding every time he went through the yard. If it was 2 or if it was 68, he was exploding through the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, it's funny because everybody saw the Tampa Bay game, Tampa and Dallas. That's how Leonard Fournette runs, right? He's accelerating from the minute he has a little bit of an opening. So if he gets 2 yards, great. If you decide to make a business decision and don't want to hit him, he's going to go for 12. Right. So I love that about Saquon.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. You know, from a defensive standpoint, if a running back is making you make business decisions or making a decision whether or not you want contact on any particular play, it's going to break.
That's right.
Because he's challenging your defense every time. And if you're a little guy coming up with secondary support, you're not going to want to stick your head in there every time if the running back is saying, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming.
Yeah, I'm ready for contact. Are you?
Yep. You know, Carl, I want to throw something by you that Tiki brought up the other day. I want to get your thoughts on this, because you look at the previous regime with Gettleman, you know, offensive line issues. Let me give Solder money, even though he's not worth it. We got to score some points. Let me give Galladay some money, even though he's not worth it. And there was just this inherent pressure because a lot of the draft, I'm not bagging on him, but it is what it is. A lot of the draft picks didn't work out, and it was this malaise that kind of just swallowed up the franchise. In a lot of ways, and this was Tiki's point, in a lot of ways, Carl, it's easier for the Giants to operate more freely. And if that means benching guys who are making a few bucks, then that's it. If that means lighting up a veteran quarterback who somebody else drafted, then that's it. It just seems because Gettleman is gone and Shane and Dable are both new that there's more oxygen. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, it absolutely does, because if you've been brought in they gave you a wrecking ball and said, tear it down and rebuild it. This is not a home remodel. This is not a renovation. This is a complete rebuild. Then you're free to do it the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
In the past, it was kind of patchwork. You know, let's paint it. Let's put up a little drywall here and there. I don't get the offensive tackle I want, but let me get, Nate Solder because he played on the championship team.
Yeah.
Now it's like none of that. We're rebuilding this thing. And if you don't want to do it the way we want it to look, then we're going to do something different at your position. And you could kind of see that with the way they've handled Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
They believe in his skill set. But listen, gone are the days where, you can't practice and then you want a whole package on game day.
True.
Right? So
Yeah.
trust is earned.
It's
right?
about time.
And I suspect on that wide receiver pass, before they put him in the game, I suspect the conversation was like, hey, I'm going to run this play. Can I trust you to do it the right way? And I'm sure Kadarius Toney got excited,
Yep.
And he made a good decision with it. So that's going to grow. But, having not practiced in camp, it's not a matter of knowing the playbook, but actually getting the reps and the timing. So he got 7 plays. There are packages in for, he's just too exciting. And if he can, put the time in during practice, and I don't think they're very demanding practices these days, he'll get his opportunities in the game, and you can see he's exciting to watch.
Yeah,
that
was the ultimate decision. He could have thrown it, and it probably would have get picked off. Instead, he goes and gets up a couple yards because he's dynamic. By the way, I love that analogy. He put on a coat of paint or new drywall. They're like, all right, let's put in some heated floors.
Yeah,
I kind of want a clawfoot tub. Let's put that stuff in
from Bath Fitter, right? Well, listen,
on a bad foundation.
Exactly.
Yep. Carl, we got to roll. Give us 20 seconds, though. We're a little tight, so I definitely have to get your views on this. Based on the fact that the Giants have already bagged their first win, and you're looking at the Panthers, whose coach is on the hot seat, Baker is what he is it unrealistic for the Giant fans to expect, not hope, to expect to win this game?
I think they should. In the interest of time, let me use the fight analogy. They're fighting in their weight class. Last week, they were punching a little bit above their weight class. Carolina's in their weight class. There should be an expectation to beat the teams that are in your weight class.
I like it.
That's a good one, Carl.
Another very vivid encapsulation. They got the home remodeling. He's got the boxing ring. That's why he's Carl Banks, number 58, every Wednesday right here on The Fan with Tiki and Tierney. Looking forward to the season, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good to be here.
There you go. Carl Banks in the house.